Where did Iron Fist go wrong? I think the better question is, where did this goddamn show go right? Was there ever a period in this show, in the first two seasons of Iron Fist, that they did something right? Let's start with the very first thing of why this show sucks. Possibly the main reason why this show sucks. Casting Finn Jones as Danny Rand. Yes, I know that this actor was on Game of Thrones. I remember seeing him on Game of Thrones before this show, before he was cast. And I remember when I heard that he was cast, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I remember that actor. I remember him. He's a pretty decent actor. You know, I had no reason to think that he sucked, and he was a good looking dude, so I thought, all right, maybe this will work. No, it did not work at all with him in the main lead. I don't know if it's just because him as an actor, he was exposed by being the lead, by being somebody who you constantly saw in almost every episode, in almost every scene, and also, to be fair, a lot of this dialogue wasn't great. The first scene, one of the first scenes of the show, you see him trying to be funny, to make him a hippie, a goofball, the way how he walks into his old building that his family ran, and he has no shoes on, and he's dirty, and he's listening to Outkast. I don't know what tone they were trying to establish. Maybe they were just simply trying to say, hey, look how different this guy is compared to the building that he's in and everyone else in it. But it came off as more awkward, and it made him annoying. This actually sets the tone for Danny Rand being so goddamn annoying throughout the entire series. And we have to follow this guy. And don't get me started on how many times they reference his backstory, his origin, back when he was a kid, and the plane crash. Oh my God, not only do we hear about this plane crash so much, but the flashbacks, the constant flashbacks of it'd be different if we saw different versions or different sequences or even different angles of the same plane crash that killed his parents. But no, we see the same exact reused shots over and over again that by the time the end of the first season happened, I did not care. Also, it's the fighting. The fighting is the main thing that hurts Danny Rand and this character because, sure, Finn Jones, even if he was a bad actor, even if he couldn't pull off the bad writing and bad dialogue, and even if he was still as boring and bland as he is in this show, if the fighting was good, if he was able to pull off these fight scenes, if he was able to seem believable doing the martial arts and doing the different types of techniques that someone like Danny Rand, the character, is supposed to know and be able to do, fight ninjas and whatnot, maybe you would forgive it. Maybe you would sit there and go, okay, this actor isn't great, but at least he's a badass. At least he did the work, he did the training, and he looks cool fighting. But the problem is that he doesn't look cool fighting. I know that Finn Jones probably tried to train. He probably tried to do the work. And so, again, maybe it's the stunt people. Maybe it's the fighting choreographer. Maybe there are a lot of other people in the production side of things as to why the fighting on this show is so poor. And so who knows where the blame should really go. But this is pitiful. A lot of these fight scenes, especially with Finn Jones, it just looks like he's going through the motions. It looks like he's being choreographed. It looks like he's going in slow motion. If you want a comparison, just watch the fight scenes in Shang-Chi. That's how martial arts fighting should come off on screen in a big production that looks believable, that looks kick-ass and looks awesome, and it makes you want to re-see more stuff like that. It's proof that it's possible. It's proof that there's no goddamn reason why the fighting should be as bad as it is. I'm constantly sitting there thinking, why is Danny Rand the one who was chosen? Why is he the one that was chosen to hold this yellow glowing fist that, sure, maybe at first when you see it, it's a little cool. It looks a little cool just because it's a form of a special effect, but it's only cool at first. After a while, when you get to episode 4, 5, 6, 7, and all this thing does is just glow, and maybe it can punch down a wall or something. But that's all it really does. This power, this chi that he so much talks about, how his chi is the most powerful thing. But it doesn't seem like it's all that powerful. It doesn't seem like they had the budget in order to make this look as impressive as it needed to. And it begs the question, why did Netflix even attempt to do this show? If they couldn't afford the budget, if they couldn't afford what this character needed in order to pull off a lot of this stuff, why did they bother? They did such a good job, budget-wise, being able to pull off the fighting and the street-level stuff with Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and even Luke Cage, who has superpowers of some sort. Why did they attempt Iron Fist? Is it just because they wanted to do the Defenders show? Because if that's the case, then they should have just substituted Iron Fist with a different character or maybe replaced him with Punisher. I'm sure fans would not have been pissed if the Punisher was in the Defenders instead of Danny Rand. Another issue of this show is that there were so many better side characters as compared to Danny Rand. Danny Rand's your main character. He should be the guy that I want to see more of, that I want to see have a character arc, that I want to see go through a hero's journey. But a hero's journey is not there to be had, especially when you have him next to a character like Colleen Wing, who was amazing, who was great. The actress, Jessica Henwick, was great. She was the only one who seemed like she believed what her character was about. Hell, she's such a good actress that she pulled off falling in love and being the girlfriend of Danny Rand. Even though her character was much better than that, smarter than that, and didn't deserve to just be the girlfriend. She deserved to be her own main character. She deserved to get her own spin-off show, especially because not only was the actress great, but her fight scenes were amazing. She was able to pull off all of the fighting that she had to do. At the end of season 2, she gets some of Danny Rand's chi, and she's able to harness this power into her sword. And that last shot of her going around New York with this glowing, powerful sword, why couldn't we get more of that? Of course, the series had to get canceled and have a cliffhanger like that with her. It sucks that we never got more of her. Another character that was actually from the Luke Cage TV show, but she came over to Iron Fist, was Misty Knight, played by Simone Missick. And Misty Knight was great, especially interacting with Colleen Wing, and their friendship that developed in this series was very natural. If this show was instead a Heroes for Hire spinoff, just like in the comics, where Misty and Colleen go around and be badasses and take up jobs to go and fight crime for money, how much more interesting does that show sound? Lewis Tan shows up as a drunken ninja character, and even though it was just for the one episode, his character was very memorable, very amusing, very funny, showed so much personality just in that one sequence. But also, Lewis Tan has come out and said that he wanted to play the role of Iron Fist himself, but the producers did not want that. They didn't want to change the race of the character, and that sparked a huge controversy claiming that this show is whitewashing the Iron Fist character. Now, I don't want to go down that road because in the comic books, Danny Rand is a white guy, and so it's not as if the show was whitewashing anything. In fact, I think many people would usually complain of a comic book character's race being changed once it's adapted into a movie or a show. But I will say this. As much as I do find it interesting in general in the comics, Danny Rand's character being thrust into a different culture and learning that culture and fighting style and bringing that into his life as a superhero, it probably would have been much better if they did change Danny Rand into an Asian American. As far as the diversity goes, as far as when the Defenders come together, and if we got to see a black dude, two white people, and an Asian all together being badasses. Plus, if we're being honest, let's leave the race out of it. Louis Tan would have been a much better choice, a much better actor, and he would have been able to pull off the fight scenes. How much more would we have forgiven and gone along with a character like Danny if he was played by Louis Tan? Such a missed opportunity. You had so many boardroom scenes, so many scenes, so many plots of them in boardroom meetings, talking to the board of directors at Rand Enterprises, trying to run their business, trying to deal with everyone. And it's like, who gives a shit? Who gives a fuck? Who cares about the intricacies of running a multi-million-dollar company? It's not what you want to see in a superhero show. Bad villains were a big thing that plagued this show big time, especially season 1. You had your main villain named Harold. Yeah, Harold. What a menacing villain name right off the bat. Harold. He's the one that arranged the death of Danny Rand's parents, of course, because he wanted to take control of the company. And then he died of cancer at some point, but then was brought back, resurrected by the Hand. And there's an instant fail once again. The Hand being involved and not only resurrecting this guy, but being a part of this show. I feel like the Hand, they had enough mystique to them to where we didn't fully know where they came from and how far down their powers and influence ran. With the Daredevil show especially, I get that we eventually had to get there. We eventually had to tell that story in order to lead up to the Defenders, but the payoff was so uninteresting. The payoff was so unearned, and it made the Hand come across as just another lame, boring group. Davos was somebody who he at least had a deep-rooted history with Danny, the two of them training together, and Davos more so is mad because he was kind of sort of destined to become Iron Fist initially, but then lost that right, and so the Iron Fist name went to Danny, and so he feels slighted. He feels like he was owed the name, and I actually like that as a motivation. I do. In fact, this actor playing Davos, I almost feel like maybe he's in the right. Maybe he did deserve to become Iron Fist more because, once again, he's not some rich white kid who just has everything handed to him. I know this isn't a big deal. At the end of the day, it's really not. But they never had the Iron Fist costume. I'm talking about the costume from the comic books. And look, that wouldn't have changed the writing. That would not have made this show and the material, or lack thereof, any better. But it sucks that after 2 seasons, they never gave Danny his cool costume. With Daredevil, we had to wait a whole season to get his costume, but at least that show, it was worth it. Everything else, the story and the build-up, paid off. And they didn't even give us that at the end of season 1 of Iron Fist. No, all of season 2, he's still just wearing regular clothes. This is bullshit. This show brings down all of the other Marvel Netflix shows, and not just quality wise, because it did. It brought a lot of things down quality wise, but it was the first show that told us that Netflix did not 100% know how to pull this off. We thought we struck gold. We thought we got lucky to be able to watch Marvel TV as much as we wanted, and it seemed like a blessing in disguise. But then this show kind of ruined everything. It was the beginning of the end for the Marvel Netflix universe, and also having side characters. Like Claire Temple, Jerry Hogarth, and even Luke Cage himself show up in episodes for a one-off. Just a constant reminder that, oh yeah, this is connected. Oh yeah, you can't escape the fact that this guy, this character, this whole story is deeply rooted and connected. And last but not least, let us not forget, how many times did they talk about this goddamn dragon that supposedly came from the place that Danny was trained, that where the source of his powers came from? And they talked about this dragon so much, so often, that you thought, okay, maybe so far this show has sucked. And maybe so far this show has been as boring as it's been. But they keep talking about this goddamn dragon, that there has to be a payoff. There has to be a moment, even if it's just the finale, where the dragon does show up and we do see how powerful this thing is and what serious destruction it can cause. Hell, maybe it's going to be the threat. But no, we don't get a dragon. They don't deliver the goods. And this is insane to me because up until this point, like I said, this actor came from Game of Thrones. We've seen a TV show on a TV show budget deliver us a dragon, and how amazing those effects can look on screen. Even if you want to argue that HBO and Game of Thrones were the next level of budget and Netflix weren't going to give a show like this a budget like that, they could have even at least have given us a flashback of a dragon or some manipulation of a dragon. Just something to show us that this thing is real, that it does exist. And let's not make Danny seem like some crazy nut who's going around telling everybody about a dragon that we never see. So as far as we know as an audience, this guy's just crazy. Thank God that now Marvel has given us dragons. When you look at Shang-Chi, I feel like they had to make up the fact that we didn't see dragons on this show, that Shang-Chi gave us 2 dragons. So yeah, guys, this show fucking sucks. It pains me to even have to look back and revisit how bad this show was. Let me know in the comments below if I missed anything as far as what else sucked about this Iron Fist show. Is there anybody out there that completely disagrees and maybe you did like the show? Holy fuck. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit that notification bell because I will be making more of these videos for sure. Later.